Welcome, everybody, to week 6 of the Arisen Dominate League. We are closing in on the end of the group stage play. Not to be confused with the Swiss stage, which is starting soon at Worlds. But I'd say we've got a similar level of play going on in our Dominate League. We got our roughly
I'm
time.
Steven, I'm going to cut you off real fast because you mentioned Worlds and I'm a little pissed off. Did you realize, like, for at least me, my pick'ems were up for a day? I had a day to lock my stuff in. Guess what? I never got to lock my stuff in. I don't even get to play this year. I'm so mad.
Well,
Ugh.
you had longer to lock in your pick'ems for Worlds than you did to make a prediction on the wonderful series that we have for us today, featuring Primal Instinct Pink and UMich Esports A, both of whom I think I think this is an interesting matchup because both of them have records that are deceivingly bad.
That
UMich
is,
Esports
I will give
A
you that. They are
has
deceivingly
the
bad.
1-3 record, and technically their one win is also a DQ, so they haven't actually won a series yet. But a lot of the series that they have lost have been 2-1s. They've been, from what I was told, close 2-1s, where they really felt like just a very small difference, like one fight difference in game 3 or something that could have helped basically turn their record from 1-3 into something like 3-1. And on the other side, you have Primal Instinct Pink, who picked up their first official win last week, I believe, or recently. And their two losses are actually as a result of a DQing issue where they had to FF their first two series while they were getting some player issues sorted out. So we've got two teams where it looks like, we're going to have a 1-2 team versus a 1-3 team kind of fighting at the bottom of the leaderboard. But both of these teams are genuine threats that are looking to redeem their records in the way that they know that they can.
Well, I mean, you made the point of redeeming the records. I mean, Mitch A actually did take a game off the top team. WLS, PhD and champions pick. That's what we're gonna go with. So they're undefeated in their league at the moment, and they also take a game off of Power of Friendship, who's 3-2 at the moment in their group. So deceivingly bad, I say is the correct way to put it. But like you said, Primal Instincts Pinks, both of their games coming off L's because they had to FF because of player issues going on. Uh, I
It's rare to see a matchup in week 6 of a league where you really don't know what's going to happen with either of the teams, right? Like we are in the second to last week of the Dominate League, and Primal Instinct Pink has only played 3 games because they have a reschedule, so we don't really know how good of a team they are.
That
We
is
don't
true.
really
That
know
is
how
true.
good UMich A team is because we haven't seen them too much. And in their games that they have played, they've taken really, like you just pointed out, they've taken games off of really really good teams, but it only, almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. If you don't
That
find the
is true.
win, your record is still going to reflect that you are one of the bottom half teams. And so I think this is a very real opportunity for them to prove themselves and their ability to contend with the top teams in this league.
I mean, one way you can contend with some of the top teams, and I'm gonna talk more on Primal Instincts case in this point in case. Wow, being their mid laner, their mid laner voltage kind of is cracked. I don't, I don't know if you've seen. I mean, on paper, he's kind of cracked. He's got really, really stellar win rate with a Tristana, but Tristana mid being nerfed. So then we look at more of the control mage that it looks like he likes to play, but the Syndra game, I want to point out he played a couple of weeks ago or a few games ago, but that game is kind of disgusting. 14-6 on a control mage, like that's kind of gross. So I mean, if Primal Instinct is gonna pull out a victory, which I'm thinking that they might. I think it's going to lie on the back of not only their jungler facilitating around the map, but the way the mid laner can control the mid lane as well as the pressure within the river itself.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you what if there was anything you were hoping to see after seeing some play-ins gaming at Worlds. Is there anything that you're hoping might carry over into the league we've got here? I was going to say that as the resident mid laner who loves control mages, I am loving like the Syndra, Ori, Azir trifecta that we're seeing at Worlds, and I
Oh,
love seeing
so
control v
the so
control
the
mage
normal
matchups.
champs we always see at Worlds. Okay.
Hey, last year was Silas Akali. Last year was Silas Akali, much to the benefit of Zeka. So I'm hoping to see some of those control mage matchups. I'm definitely hoping to see an Oriana come out today because I think Oriana is in a really strong spot, and I haven't seen her taken advantage of in a positive way in this league yet. So I'm excited to see if either of the teams opt for that as we get into our draft phase. I'm
All right,
expecting to see a
Renekton
lot of
Bay.
one tricks banned away because if you
I'm
look at the
guessing. I'm guessing.
OPGGs of these teams, we got a Karthus OTP, we've got a Victor OTP. Get some of these champs out of here. There's the Karthus.
I mean, the Renekton, I guess, is targeting the top laner for. Wow, what team am I looking at? Mitch A. Sorry, wow, that one took a little bit, but it
Mhm.
looks like Primal Instinct's gonna be playing blue side, and Mitch A is gonna be playing red side. Like you said, those OTP bands coming out,
No,
the
Oriana.
Vayne, the Oriana, the Renekton, the Victor, the Karthus. Like, let's get these champs that everybody knows how to play blindfolded off of
Yeah,
their screen. I mean, Vayne is actually coming back into the meta in a really positive way. I like. Uh, I still don't like Vayne in the competitive environment, but solo queue Vayne, oh, kind of gross.
yeah.
Once he starts to get the ball rolling, I mean, I feel like if you can stay even with a Vayne, As another hyper carry, it's not as bad.
Absolutely. And at this level of play, I'm a big advocate for just banning away comfort. The reality is that a lot of these teams probably can't pilot every single high tier worlds level meta pick. As I
I'm
say that, we
excited.
see the
I'm excited.
Jinx, the
I'm so
30
excited. Have you played Jinx with her new little
30
buff?
attack speed,
Yo,
permanent
yo,
scaling.
I pulled it out. I was playing Jinx one day and just we get to the tower point. It was like kill, assist, take tower, take inhib, and I was like, why am I shooting so fast?
The rockets, just the bazooka
Oh,
shooting rockets at 30 miles a minute.
all
We've
right.
got the Cinder already picked on the other
UMich,
side. I'm very happy.
you know what I like? I like what UMich is doing right there, taking the Syndra away uh, from Primal Instinct's mid laner, and then they're going to. Oh, I kind of like the Ezreal there. Um,
Yeah, they're
got a
pulling
few
the pulling
ADCs in mind here.
the BDS maybe high prio on the Ezreal, but they might end up just opting for something a little bit more standard with the Kaisa hover. Definitely has been one of the more dominant AD carries for the past few patches. She's had some ups and downs, but
She is just so flexible in her build paths. I mean, it's really hard to take Kaisa out of meta unless
Kaisa
you.
players always find a way. They find
Yeah,
some
I
weird
mean, look at that
combination of items.
lethality build that came out of nowhere. Like that was kind of gross. And then they did some tweaks to Duskblade, and now the Kaisa mains are in the theory craft again. But an Ari countering Syndra, I love it. I love it.
Ooh. I mean, so as Syndra is will crush Ari in the 1v1 every
Oh
single
yeah.
time. Syndra will just demolish her with like Airy, Scorch, whatever you just decide to take. Syndra is a much stronger laner. But as soon as Ari hits level 6, you are under a lot of threat as the Syndra. And I kind
I
of love
love her.
this reset oriented comp that we have coming out from Primal Instinct Pink. We've got Ari resets on her R, we've got Jinx resets on her passive. I was hoping maybe we'd see a Viego on the third pick so that we
Oh,
can get
ew, gross.
maximum reset
Yo, I
capabilities, but
don't like seeing Viego in any game. Uh, it's just, it's not that the champ is broken. It's just the champ's not fair. From a I'm playing for fun kind of point of view. It's like, yeah, you kill me and then you take my whole champion. That's not cool. And then the rail getting locked in. Hmm. So
I mean,
are they thinking this is going to be an Ivern support?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I'm pretty certain that Ivern is going into the jungle. What they can do by picking Rel on 3 here is, I mean, Kaisa Rel is a really strong 2v2, and it
Oh
also
yeah.
gives you the ability whenever you pick a champion for a role that hasn't been selected by the enemy team on 3 like this, now you can ban on 4-5 the type of champions that you don't want to play the Rel into, right? You can ban any direct counters
Ooh,
or any
ban the
direct lanes that you don't want to
Janna.
play
I
into.
like it. Yeah. They gotta get the Janna off the board. I do like the Senna because the Senna and the Jinx is kind of annoying. Uh,
Mhm.
just to play into, let alone as part of like a whole comp. But if they don't ban Janna here, I'm gonna be a little upset.
They could ban the Janna. They could ban the Nautilus can interrupt Rel W. They're actually just going to opt for looks like another top lane ban. They're going to respond to that Darius ban, maybe indicating that they think because they banned Darius that Primal Instinct Pink was leaning towards the Jax and that they just didn't want to play that matchup. So
Okay.
they kind of handshake the top lane bans, and I'm interested to see what Michigan is interested in picking on the fourth spot here. I would think that they would lock in
They,
a jungler or a support because technically I just realized that the Rel could be going jungle here.
their support absolutely loves to play Rel. I mean, their past like 10 games have all been Rel. So I don't see the Rel going anywhere but to support. So
Mhm.
I feel like you just lock in your jungler here on R4 and counterpick for top lane.
For sure. I mean, we've been seeing the power of counterpick top lanes. If you haven't been watching Worlds, I highly advise watching
Or,
all the games that have
or
happened.
you pick a champ like Udyr and it's a flex pick. It's like, okay, I really don't want to play the Udyr into the top lane you picked, so I'm going to send him jungle and pick another top lane. Or it's like, you know what? I think the Udyr into the Ivern is the better of the choices, so I'm going to send him into the jungle and pick my top lane. I, you can do either here.
Admittedly, I'm a little bit concerned already about the damage profile for Michigan A. We've
Yeah,
got a lot of AP.
a lot.
Very
I
easy to
mean,
itemize against. Merc treads are really, really good already, but when you give them multiple AP threats to build those into, we really need to see something on R5 that incorporates a large amount of AP or AD damage to kind of balance out their damage profile.
So you thinking maybe a Fiora here in R5?
Whatever. Honestly, it's like I feel like it's top laner's choice. Whatever you want into Ornn. I feel like there are a million different AD champions who will all do well laning wise into the Ornn.
Right.
You could play Garen. You could play Fiora. You could play Gnar. You could play Yone,
I like
which is
the
what we're hovering
Yone.
right now.
I do like the Yone build with the hole breaker, the top lane Yone build.
Hmm.
I tried it out one day. It's kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie. I just don't know how to play Yone, so obviously I got bodied. Uh, but it was fun. It was definitely interesting, nonetheless.
It is going to be the Yone locked in.
All right, Yone for the win. Okay, okay.
So I mean, I feel like of these two drafts, Michigan A has some very interesting concepts, and I think that individually their champions match up very well versus the champions of Primal Instinct Pink. Right? They have the Syndra into the Ari, which is a good matchup. They have the Yone into the Ornn, which is a good matchup. They got to pick Udyr as a response to Ivern, so clearly that's something that they're comfortable with. But I think
Yep.
that cohesively Primal Instinct Pink's draft has a very clear identity and a very clear way that they want to play out fights. They want to have Ornn rip the Ornn horn, engage hard with the Ari follow up, have Ivern and Thresh play hard peel for the Jinx, and the second she gets a reset, they just take over the fight.
Yeah, yeah. As you were calling it out, I could see it in my head playing out. But for the side of UMich A, their play style might not be a little like straightforward, but it's definitely you can definitely see what they want to do. Rail dives in with Udyr having Syndra not only just peel but hard CC for the Ari and probably the Jinx if she does get excited. Have Yon on a split push, maybe not. Maybe he comes in over the top of a wall with a Fate Seal. I don't want to say their comp is like all over the place, but it's very it's not very pick oriented, it's not very team oriented, but they could do a little bit of both, if that makes any
It's really
sense.
scrappy.
Yeah,
Is
they're
is the
very
way that
scrappy, very
they're
scrappy. That's the
very
best way to put it.
scrappy. They thrive well in chaotic situations, and
Oh,
I think that
100%.
when you have a scrappy team comp like this, there's no AD carry that you'd rather have than Kai'Sa because you don't have to peel for the Kai'Sa. She'll come with you into the back line.
You know what? She's got the killer instinct. Why not?
So maybe
I'm
your Syndra
coming.
might be a little unhappy, but Kai'Sa sure won't be left in the back line. She can come in and dive into the back line, and really your only goal in this comp is to kill the Jinx. Without Jinx, there is virtually no damage on the side of Primal Instinct
Well,
Pink.
I mean, they do have the ability to get the Kaisa to the Jinx with a Q3 from the Yone, with a stun from the Udyr, a Magnet Storm, Flash, stun combo from the Rel, Scatter the Weak from the Cinder. Like, they have the tools to get the CC back there for the Kaisa to kill her instinct on top. So I like they got the right chance to get to Jinx, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
And I think that there's a lot of pressure on the AD carry on Team Primal Instinct in that case, right? Because when you are really the sole damage with four facilitating champions, I tend to think of Ari as a more facilitator champion because really her damage tapers off in the mid to late game sections of the game unless you go like the Leandry's Anguish, uh, you know, first strike type scaling build, and I don't really expect to see that. So really, all of the damage is reliant on the safety of this Jinx, and so there's a lot of pressure onto the AD carry, but also a lot of power being placed into that position.
That's what 80 carries we thrive on. Put the game in my hand. Follow me to the finish line, boys. I got you. This is definitely Jinx's game to lose, 100%. With a wall like Daisy, Thresh, and Ornn to stand in front of her with Ari providing that mid range kind of DPS, assassin type maneuvering. Like this is a Jinx game to lose.
Hmm.
Just because there are so many things in front of the Jinx that UMich A has to deal with to eventually get to her. Because if you ignore the Ornn, he's just gonna bop you down. If you ignore the R, she's just gonna burst you out. So it makes it they pick the champs to make it really hard for UMich to ignore to get to Jinx. So they have to deal with what's in front of them.
Yeah, you'd have to like weave through like a mazer laze as if you're in a
I,
spy movie in order to
yeah,
actually
no.
get to the Jinx because you got to dodge the charm, you got to dodge the Ornhorn, you've got to dodge the Ivern Q, you've got to dodge the death sentence and the flay from Thresh. How are you ever going to get onto Jinx as long as they ration their abilities correctly and kind of play for her to be able to kite back. It's going to be a challenge for sure. And I think that a lot of it is going to start with hopefully seeing which side of the map that they decide to path onto, because I could easily see it either way. I think out of Primal Instinct Pink, you can very reasonably assume that Ivern is going to path away from the Ornn and to his Hypercarry Jinx. But I think that Michigan A has a little bit more flexibility. I could see a world where the Udyr is going to path into the Kai'Sa Rel and look for a 3v3. And I could also see a world where they look to path top and just punish the Ornn as much as possible and get that Yone ahead.
I mean, you do have a point, but with the Ivern, his clear is just so fast. Like realistically, he doesn't have to path to the Jinx. He could path away and then come back by the time the Udyr makes it there. So the Ivern can path starting topside. Take the two big buffs, go topside. Maybe annoy the Udyr a little bit, then start to make his way bot, annoy the mid lane, then clear out the rest of his red side, and then all right, cool, I'm here for the 3v3.
Udyr is the master of what I like to call like the drive-by ganks. Like he just shows up and boops you on the head with his stun and takes half your HP and then goes back to clearing. And it's like
Yeah.
I was never intending to kill you. I'm just being annoying and making sure that you know that this lane is not a 1v1 or a 2v2 and never will be.
The jungler is here. You have been stunned. I have asserted dominance. Goodbye.
Hey, what is it? It's the I run, I stun with the little people
Oh,
run in the middle.
I've seen that meme.
Even
It's
though
pretty good.
Udyr has changed since that iteration of him, it's still very much alive.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we are in spec delays, so we're gonna take a short little break, and we will see you guys when we get on the rift.
Welcome back. We are getting into game one of Michigan A versus Primal Instinct Pink. We've got pretty standard 5 points coming out from each of the teams. I'll be interested to see where the junglers have padded out on the map reflects where they're actually going to be starting. Because if we see them start on the same side, we can expect a little bit of chaos in the bot lane at around the 3-minute mark.
Uh, I mean, I'm ready for a dicey 2v2, but if I know Ivern, he doesn't really have a lot of gank set up on his own. He kind of relies a lot on the Thresh. to land a hook so that the Jinx can follow up with the clampers and then so on and so forth, like chain CC. So if Thresh isn't on point with his hooks, it makes it a little bit hard for the Ivern to show up bot lane. He might have a much easier time ganking the Yone because with the Ornn, he just has the brittle proc and then boom, knocked up, easy peasy. Doesn't have to really try hard on a skill shot.
And for Primal Instinct Pink, we have got some very clear communication from their runes and from their starting items that they are hoping that this game goes long. We've got the Cull start coming out from Dallas on the Jinx. Ornn didn't even bother to buy a starting item because he's going to buy his later in lane,
Yeah.
knowing that he doesn't really need that pressure and likely wouldn't get it anyways versus this Yone early on. And we've got a lot of runes that kind of feed towards that late game identity with the Grasp on the Ornn and the Lethal Tempo onto the Jinx.
But I mean, I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna mean it. Going Cole this early is a little bit greedy.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I understand, you know, you take Cole for one of two reasons. A, I don't think I'm going to interact in this lane. It's going to be a farm out. So let me take the Cole, at least benefit a little bit off of it. Or you're like, it's not going to be a farm. It's like a total farm fest. And it's not going to be a total all-in fest. But I will still get some good trading because I get health back when I smack people with the Cole. I get it.
I have a third alternative.
You're up against Kai'Sa Rail, though. Like,
you haven't
a little bit
considered
of extra health.
But the one that you haven't considered, Hyper, is the third situation where I take Cole because I know that I'm better than you and I don't even need those laning stats. I'm just gonna take something that helps me scale and I'm gonna beat you in lane. Now I'm not gonna pretend like I know what Dallas is thinking with the Cole Star, but I think that's the most interesting option.
I mean, maybe. I mean, we're gonna have to see. It looks like Karthus has made his way into the river, and so a pause has commenced.
Of course.
Starting off strong.
No good series is complete without a pause. The fanatic pause, as Twitch chat always likes spamming whenever any pause happens in any competitive game ever.
I do not know this reference.
Apparently Fnatic like paused a game and then won afterwards or had the game remade or something when they were losing, and so now people just pretend that every time you pause it's because you're losing, which makes absolutely no sense in this context, but people type it anyways.
Phonetic pause. Word.
I do think it's actually very interesting that I kind of have never seen this before. After his first three camps, Udyr immediately dropped a base, bought a Dark Seal, and came back out on the map, which is the reason that he's actually so behind on clearing in comparison to the
Whoa.
Ivern. So the Ivern is already into River, having finished all his camps, whereas the Udyr is just now starting his blue buff. So I almost wonder if that could be a cause of some potential invading action as we see Karthus pathing up towards that blue buff.
I mean, that's really his only other option. The scuttle isn't gonna spawn. The scuttle isn't about to spawn just yet, but while they figure out their pause situation, we're gonna transition it back to the desk. Because you know league players don't know how to get their internets to work. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder the reason for the pause. Luckily, if it's any sort of bug or internet issues, it doesn't seem that it's impacted the game in any meaningful way so far. Given that the game pretty much just started and we've just been trading the first few waves of the game.
I mean, and it's not even like trading. It was more. I think the most intense trading we saw was topside with the Yone missing the Q3, and then Ornn was like, "How dare you!"
And Ornn doesn't even have items. That's the funniest part. Is like this Ornn is coming out of base, no items, just sitting on a refillable and nothing more, and he's just bopping him on the head with his hammer.
Like, what are you doing? Get back!
It's like swatting a fly.
Oh, there's a pretty good meme. It was a dad. This girl wanted a cat, and the dad's like, "You don't want to get a cat." And she's like, "Yeah, I want to get a cat." And so the dad gets up on the counter and starts like tip tapping this like glass of water. And she's like, "No, stop! What are you doing?" He's like hitting the cat, like hitting the water, like more and more towards the edge of the counter. I was just like, wow, I could feel that one in my soul.
You don't you don't really want the Ornn.
Oh man. It's really hard. It's really hard to like break down the game when it just started off of a pause like this.
Yeah, I mean, I do I do think it's interesting to even just like there there are a lot of options for the Ivern if he finds out that Udyr is so behind on his clear, right? Like that Gromp might not be Udyr's anymore if he finds out. That blue buff might get contested from Ivern. He might be able to double scuttle him off of it. If any fight breaks out in the bot lane, Udyr's going to be a level down as opposed to Ivern. So going for that recall is kind of the epitome of greedy, I feel like. Yes, you're out on the map with a little bit of extra stats because you have that dark seal, and if skirmishes break out, you might be able to start stacking that early on.
I
But
think that's what
if
it
you get
comes
called out
down
on
to.
this, you're in danger.
I think that's what it comes down to is I know I'm going to be behind on my clear against somebody who can full clear and fast clear that quickly. So in compensation for your ability to impact the map, let me get a little bit of extra stats in my pocket so that if I happen to meet you, I will have the upper hand because of the extra stats rather than just the levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, question to you: would you like to just send it to a break and then wait for this game to pop up?
Based on what was dropped in Twitch chat, it seems that we're in for a little bit of a long one in terms of the pause length.
Oh,
So
Lord.
we may as well throw it over to a break until this game starts up again. But stay tuned, don't go anywhere. We should be getting it back as soon as this pause drops off.
rip because we have a fight breaking out right here. You love to see it. Come back from a pause. Voltage has made his way from the mid lane. Support King flashes that one, dodges the charm, but he's not going to escape the gray screen. First blood going over to Primal Instinct.
What a way to bring it back after the pause. A 4-man play being pulled off by Primal Instinct Pink in the bot lane. Oh, and I think Voltage accidentally canceled his base there. Minion dematerializing. He's going to lose a few CS for that in the mid lane, but that is going to put him off to a good start. Starting 1-0, being able to TP back with the Lost Chapter already picked up. And even at the expense of a little bit of CS, that's going to be a good start for the Ahri in this already pretty difficult matchup.
I do want to say, Udyr did something to try to compensate, but what a hook coming out from Turtle. But his health bar is getting annihilated right now by that Kai'Sa. Ignite taken away, but it doesn't matter. Before Requiem decided to interrupt me, I was going to say is at least Udyr tried to do something useful. He did end up getting double scuttle in response to the 4-man play on the bot side. So at least he'll be ahead in CS. I mean, he's 10 ahead right now.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you really want to see if you are the side of Michigan A and you just had a play get made on you on the bot side. You at least want to see your jungler go up a little bit of tempo and a little bit of CS, knowing that Ivern kind of gave up that tempo in order to make that play happen. And now we see the two of them meeting up in the top lane, but I don't think either of them really want to fight at this moment. Udyr has his camps coming up that he probably wants to clear, and for the side of Mr. Karthus, he has his own camps on the top side spawn that he needs to go mark in order to return to later.
But I do got to give it to the Udyr. He is going to be able to get back out on the map after taking that base and get to Drake, since Ivern's going to start his clear of his blue side quadrant and reset those camps. You know, Udyr's already cleared his top side. Now he can just clear out his quadrant and then just start the Drake up. And, you know, Support King's already here doing what supports need to be doing and laying the vision line.
Yeah, now they will know as soon as Ivern crosses over into his bot side and goes onto these chickens. They should be able to ping it out once he crosses over this ward in a second. And
yeah,
that'll give them some essential information as they see him now pathing down to its Krugs. And there are some pings going off in the river. We might end up finding another fight around the bot side on pretty much the same full clear timer that the first one happened on.
I mean, a little bit delayed since Udyr decided to take the scuttle instead. I mean, we don't know what happened, unfortunately, because of the pause, but the junglers are going to meet up, and it looks like Udyr does have a level upon him, and Voltage getting chunked out massively by Syndra right there. A really nice Q, but that shield's going to be able to save him.
The chickens!
Karthus is going to have to give him a little bit of shield. The flash going out, but here comes Udyr trying to chase him down. A really nice flash stun. Flash charm from the already get out of that one. The chickens might get taken away, but we just missed a double kill on the bot side of the map. Dallas picking one up for his team.
There's too much happening. The spectator client can't handle it.
Direct to camera doesn't know what it wants to look at. But Dallas right there, a huge win for the Jinx, getting a double kill onto the Kai'Sa, and Ornn with a massive trade onto the Yone. As well. I mean, we talked about these comp being really scrappy from the side of UMich A, but it looks like Primal Instinct is coming out on top of it being scrappy.
It's scrappy, all right, but it's not necessarily in the way that you're looking for if you're Team Mich A.
What a really nice stop coming out from Turtle. Requiem ends up picking up a kill in return, but Karthus is here. Karthus the player, not the champion. A really good stun from Support King, but he doesn't have enough health in the tank. Dallas is excited. He's going all in.
No.
He wants a double kill, and Requiem, have a nice night. You're going to the fountain.
And Bazinga Brain, it looks like we'll be able to pick up the Drake, but at what cost? Dallas on the Jinx has already started off 4-0. The gold lead already cresting 2,000. And this is going to be a very rough start for the side of Michigan A, especially for their bot lane, as now Bazinga Brain looking to see if he can make some playback in the mid lane, but Voltage will just walk that one out. There isn't quite enough mana on the Syndra to look for anything significant, and so the end result of these multiple fights in a row is going to be Primal Instinct Pink taking an early lead in this game, and their Jinx is set up for success, already having that Noon Quiver, the Berserker's Greaves, a recurve bow, and a Cole that he started with that is already significantly stacked.
I said it was Jinx's game to lose, and she's got 100% KP at the moment. Primal Instinct Pink has turned into Primal Instinct Dallas, is what it is.
Everybody play for the Jinx. I mean, all you need to do is prevent this Jinx from giving up her 400 gold bounty, get her to an item or two, and you'll be fine. But now we see a fight happening in the top lane.
Yeah, we do. Fate Sealed is gonna go off, manages to pick up the Ornn, and Ari manages to take out the Syndra with the help of the Thresh. I don't know if Thresh actually did anything except maybe pick like the shield, because Thresh was on the opposite side of the map.
What is this game?
I
Trying
don't
to kill
know.
a minute. We must be in the VCS or something, because I've never seen teams fight this much this frequently. If you watched the Worlds games last night, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But just non-stop skirmishing, non-stop fighting in the lanes, leading to already 9 kills at 9 minutes, and 4 of them are onto the Jinx. 6 of them are onto the essential carries for the team of Primal Instinct Pink.
I mean,
But he's getting the objectives.
I mean, if you're UMich A, you're doing the right thing because your jungler is hitting objectives. He's got the first Drake, soloed the Drake, soloed the Herald. Your top laner managed to get a trade 1-for-1 in the top lane. Unfortunately, your bot lane is getting a little bit gapped. So, like, maybe start playing through the Syndra is my guess.
Either start playing through the Cinder or just start trying to match the plays that are being made for Primal Instinct Pink, because already we see them setting up for potentially what could be a play onto the bot lane yet again. Maybe they'll look for a wave stack into a dive, though that would be pretty challenging considering the summoner spells and health bars. But I think that if you're Michigan A, you have to find an opportunity to match a play that you already think or know is coming, and find an opportunity to turn that play around on them and collect some of this shutdown gold. Whether that comes through the bot lane or the mid lane, it's kind of up to them and what seems most convenient in the moment. But you definitely want to stop things from getting more out of control. And so the best way to go about that is to just try to predict where this Ivern wants to go, what kind of plays he wants to make on the map, and make sure that you're there to answer them when they do happen.
I guess the best way to do it is just doing what Bazinga has been doing and sticking to the objectives, making sure he's got, full clearing, making sure his quadrants and synchronizing his camps so that he is at least ahead of the jungler in terms of items. But we got another mid lane scrap going on, and Voltage, Jesus, that was some damage. Wow, just solo killing the Syndra.
Nearly got solo killed himself at level 6 when Cinder was dropping the ultimate, and he narrowly escaped, and ever since then it just hasn't been close. Voltage racking up solo kills one after another in the mid lane, really showing what he can do on this Ahri, and now it's not looking any better. It looks like it's going to be
a top lane show, because Get Me Off My Vein says I could do this on Yone too. Solo killing the Horn.
-1 on the cannon, unfortunately, but is going to be able to get that wave shoved out. And I think we've identified where Michigan A has to play through if they want any chance of bringing this game back gold-wise. It's going to have to be through Get Me Off, or Get Out of My Vein on the Yone in the top lane, because he is already building up some individual advantages versus this Ornn, despite some pressure coming out from the Ivern. And so it looks at this point that he's going to be your primary carry this game. And to be honest, I think that might not be all too bad for them, because if they're able to get this Yone to a point where he's able to pick up the Hull Breaker, they might never have to fight 5v5 if they're constantly pulling the team of Primal Instinct Pink into the side lanes.
Oh my god, Voltage on these charms, it's just magnetic at this point.
Comboing it with the Everfrost, and he just in case the Syndra ever finds an opportunity to trade back onto him, he's got Merc Tread, so he's not even going to take that much damage or be stunned for too long.
Yeah, okay.
And is this going to be a 5-plate with no Herald needed in the bot side for Jinx? She's going to get excited, but it looks like
she's going to get excited. She's going to look to trade a little bit of damage on to support King. Is doing a really good job, a really nice sidestep on that Void Seeker. But here comes Voltage over the top of the wall using that ultimate, locks Requiem up, and Requiem is going to get taken down by Dallas. The Magnetic Storm is going to do nothing but prolong the inevitable. A really great play coming out from the side of Primal Instinct right there.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dallas is going to go down on the tail end, but I mean, Support King was the one who collected that massive gold bounty, so how much does a rel with a little bit of extra gold really matter at the end of the day, as opposed to the kills that they found, the tower that they already took down, and now Bazinga Brain and Get Out of My Vein are trying to trade it back on the top side with the Herald as Voltage teleports in.
Yeah, and that Call of the Forge God is going to go off. Along with that Fate Seal, they managed to pick up the jungler at the end of all of that. Ornn unfortunately loses his tower, but takes the top lane as a response. Or takes the jungler as a response. So,
Wow.
they're... UMich is doing the things that they need to be doing, but they're just a little bit too far behind tempo right now. You know, they've already lost to Drake. They lost the bot side tower. Now they're starting to siege this mid lane.
Turtle, with just a mere threat of flashing forward and looking for the hook, forces the flash out of Syndra, even though the hook hit a minion. Just speaks to the amount of mental damage that is being done here after this explosive early game. I actually really liked what Bazinga Brain went for there, looking to when something as catastrophic as what was happening in the bot lane is happening on the map, don't try to match the play, just take the Herald top lane and try to trade the tower back. And they did a great job of doing that, but I think that once the TP comes in from Voltage, who is already very fed in his own right, you gotta back off, you gotta run away. And I think that their mistake was overcommitting to that play when they had to know that as soon as Voltage arrived with the teleport, that play is over.
Yeah, I was looking at Twitch chat. It said Syndra just took psychic damage. That was pretty good. That's pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Once this Jinx gets to IE, things are going to be pretty much unplayable for Michigan A. So I don't know if now is the window to try to make a play. I don't know how you make a play. I mean, in reality,
oh my god,
Support
I'm
King on
telling
the
you,
rel.
magnetic with these charms. I'm telling you. And they get that. They siege down that tier 1 in the mid lane, and Requiem is just taking all of the damage from those rockets. Support King having to step right in front of that super mega death rocket. You know, because if he doesn't, it's kind of over at that point.
We will see if Jinx is left open for game 2 after what I'm seeing on my screen right now. Because if I'm Requiem, I'm not very happy about these Jinx buffs and how they've been manifesting in this game.
And then she just annihilates the tier 2 in the mid lane. Wow. Yeah, Jinx Jinx a little bit needs to be a little undertuned. Actually, I wouldn't say she needs to be undertuned. It's just this is what happens when Jinx gets ahead. Because if she's not ahead, she can't do this.
Yeah, I mean, Jinx is the type of champion where you're really just looking to farm and minimize the lane state to get to tier 2 items and really come online at 2 items and in those later stages of the game, which means that if you get ahead earlier than that, you're going to have some problems for the enemy team, and now Support King might be caught out.
Support King is realizing those problems when you get a Jinx ahead because Dallas goes ahead and takes the rel down. Wow, we know who the carry in this game is. 6-1 already on the Jinx. And Drake is spawning here in a minute 50. There's just not a lot that the side of UMich A could do because Ivern's sitting with the Herald in his pocket now.
I think Summoner's Rift must be a democracy because the Support King is not looking to hold very much power in this game. Already racked up 5 deaths at 16 minutes, which, I mean, in fairness, when you're playing a support like Rel or like the infamous Nautilus and your team falls behind, your job is kind of to int in an attempt to get your team back into the game because that's really all your champion does. And so you're going to end up racking up these high death counts as now we see Voltage looking not to get out of my vein.
Voltage is doing really good trading onto this Yone, kind of just skirting around with that ultimate. It gets the solo kill to top it off. Yone doing a really good job right there, you know, dodging the charm and the Everfrost, but unfortunately, Ahri still has autos and one more ability in her kit that doesn't exactly need to CC you.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems to be that that Get Out of My Vein is the only one who has been immune to those charms thus far, but at this point in the game, it doesn't matter whether or not Voltage is able to hit charm. He's got more than enough damage loaded into his kit, having now completed the Everfrost and the Horizon Focus. This is pretty much Ahri's strongest point in the game. It's really all downhill from here because she spikes hardest on 2 items where she's able to utilize her mobility and utility to set up picks and set up kills. But luckily, you know, it's not like she has a super high burden to bear for the rest of this mid to late game, given that Dallas has already finished both of his first two items on this Jinx.
Yep, and I don't know what Yon thinking he wants to do right there to try to jump on a turtle, but we have 5 seconds for Drake to spawn, but Zingabrain manages to get a stun right onto that Thresh. Not the target they want to be looking for, but a target nonetheless, and here comes that Call of the Forge God. Gonna hit nobody, and a really big Magna Storm. Fate Sealed is gonna go wide. Requiem in the face of Dallas gets the shutdown, but meanwhile, back in the river, we have Support King just taking all of the damage, and Yon coming back in. He manages to take out the jungler, takes out the support. Now he's going to be looking over to that top laner. Got the citrus, got the scatter of the weak. Do they have the damage? I think they do. Oh my goodness, they don't. The charm is going to spell blood in the water. He manages to still take out that top laner, but Voltage trading back huge onto that, trading huge onto the Yone. Both Yone and Ari going to be able to walk out of that one cleanly at least.
I want to highlight two things from that fight. One, Support King clearly heard what I said on stream about a minute ago, even though that's not physically possible given the delay, because he immediately answered back with a beautiful engage, and I saw the vision. If Get Out of My Vein was immediately following up with the Fate Unsealed, that would have been a clean teamfight wipe despite how far they are behind, because when you get a clean engage from your Rel like that, there's not really much that can be done on the other side. And I also want to highlight that the Syndra on the side of Michigan A, I believe, canceled Ari's TP, and the fact that Voltage didn't show up to that fight was, I think, the huge difference maker, given that a lot of that gold lead that previously existed for Primal Pink and kind of still exists despite that good fight was on top of Voltage, and so having that gold absent in the fight was much more favorable for Michigan A than it was for Primal Instinct Pink.
I give it to the side of Requiem because he managed to get that Killer Instinct right on top of Dallas, and Dallas' health bar was already so low. But back to my point later, because wow, Voltage is dominating. They find a clean pick onto the Syndra and take this top tier 2 tower in return. What a hook followed, and then the chain CC to follow from it as well.
Gonna try to get this second crash.
Yeah, they get the second crash. There's no way they can't stop that. But what I was gonna say was, you know, Requiem getting a really good Killer Instinct on Dallas, and Dallas' health bar was already so low from the start of that fight. So when he jumps on there, his full combo goes through, and they manage to trade 1-for-1. Yeah, it's gone.
Bazinga Brain is on the bot side. He was just finishing the enemy Krugs. Where you at, man? Yeah, they're just gonna collapse on the Baron and take it for free. And sure, you're getting a tier 1 tower back on the bot side, but I don't think that's a worthwhile trade.
They might get that tier 2. They might get the tier 2. They don't get the tier 2. He doesn't have.
Yeah, Voltage is coming out of base with ultimate. If he overstays here, he could be returning to the base just in a different way than maybe he had hoped. And I mean, they're able to trade back a little bit and get more gold onto the Yone, but at a certain point, you can't keep trading, right? Some of those early trades that they did with the Rift Herald were really, really good and really, really intelligent because they knew they couldn't match the play on the opposite side of the map. But trading Baron is kind of a different beast.
Yeah, it's really hard to justify, okay, you guys can have Baron because we're going to do something else on the other side of the map. Really, there was nothing else on the map to do. They had just taken Drake. You know, their top lane is getting shoved in. Yon is trying to do his best to take that tier 1 in the bot lane. That's really the only objective you had available aside from mid-tier 1, which uninherently was already shoved in. So, like, it's really hard to justify the trade on the Baron this time around.
Yeah, and it's going to make it hard for them to extend much farther beyond the confines of their base, as now they're going to have multiple waves getting pushed in, one in the bot lane, one in the mid lane. I love what Primal Instinct Pink is doing here. When you have Baron, common misconception is that you want to play some sort of 1-3-1. In reality, it's much, much better to play on 2 lanes and just aim to take down 2 inhibitors by the time that Baron ends, because you're able to focus more closely together and you don't risk getting picked off either as that 3-man in the mid lane or as that lonesome one in the side lane. And so I really like the way that they've been playing these waves, sending peels back to the mid lane to kind of catch that wave afterwards.
Well, it's not even, you know, 1-3-1. It's more of a let's have one lane shoved in and then we can play through the other 2. And then if whoever's in the mid lane can just catch the top wave and keep it shoved in, or catch the bot lane and keep it shoved in, and then rejoin the rest of your team. But Scatter of the Week is going to land on a Voltage, followed by the Void Seeker. I mean, they're doing a really good job of clearing this wave out so they can't siege this inhibitor turret. But I got to give credit to Primal Instinct because they are not letting their foot up off the gas.
Yeah, the only problem here is that ideally when you're playing on two lanes like this, you want your waves to be synced as much as possible. And if you notice, what's happening is that the mid wave is crashing at a different timer than the bot wave. So for Michigan A, they're able to send 5 people to respond to the
Oh,
bot
but
wave
that
is
spot
the
in the
hook.
response, Voltage is going to be able to go Godlight. Support King finds a really great int, if you would, but it's not going to matter because a double kill going over to Voltage. That ultimate giving him so much mobility.
Look at the
Dallas is
attack speed.
excited. He's got the ultimate attack speed, manages to take out the jungler, dies in the end. We have a full house, 4 kills for the carries, triple kill for the Jinx, double kill for Voltage, and that might just be the game.
We've got 10 seconds on the bot lane of Michigan A. Let's see if Primal Instinct Pink thinks that they can end the game at this point. It looks like
They
they're
might.
posturing for it, but no. Turtle is the only one hitting the tower. I don't think Thresh is going to be able to end the game by himself, so looks like they're just opting to take the second inhibitor on the bot lane. I like this. There's no reason to overextend and try to end the game right now. You're pretty much in full control of the game with a massive gold lead, so don't feel like you have to push it more than you have to.
I mean, 10 seconds left on the Drake. They're going to base, oddly enough. Interesting.
I'd imagine their thinking here is that since their waves were already fully pushed in, Michigan A can't really respond and take the Drake fast enough, so they'd rather go back and spend that gold, because a gold lead is only a gold lead once you spend it, right?
That is
They
true. That
might
is true.
have, theoretically, a 9k gold lead, but if 8k of it is sitting in your inventories, then it's a damn near even game.
Okay. Touche. But, I don't like the idea of basing because Dallas is coming back who had, in theory, had base because went to the gray screen. But
Fast pace.
yeah, it's the quickest base that you could do. So, you just take that objective on your way out. Ivern, maybe whoever was more full health, probably the Ornn, go towards the Drake. Jinx follows up, and then everybody else can take a base at that point.
Either way, it ends up working out for them. The Drakes are now equalized at 2 apiece, which clues into me that we probably won't see a Drake soul by the time that this game ends. I mean,
I
Primal
think
Instinct
so.
Pink is in pretty much prime position to end the game. They've
And the
got
way
all the
the
items they
way
could
they
ever
are,
want.
yeah, and the way they were setting up, they're gonna go for a triple inhib right here. They've got a minute for Baron. They're clearing out this topside vision very well, I might add. And they're just hard shoving this top lane in. But they are gonna find Peels right there. He's gonna try to get away with that charge. But like I said, they are just hard shoving this top lane in.
I wonder if they're just going to rip for a tower dive. I mean, they certainly have
I
the
mean,
ability to do
Voltage
so.
does
Voltage
find
is
the
for it.
damage. Turtle ends up taking the Yone out of the picture. Call the Forge God takes a really good chunk, and here comes Dallas. He's excited. He's got a kill under his belt, but Voltage has more speed. He's got more quickness. He does not find Requiem in the end. They do find the tower. They find the third inhibitor, and now they're looking for the game.
This should be it unless Bazinga Brain and Requiem can put up some sort of
I don't think
defense,
so
but
because
Bazinga
Jinx
Brain
is
looks
now
like my
excited.
solo
Here
queue
comes the
teammate.
rockets. The barrage of artillery cannot stop the Jinx. There goes your Nexus turrets. There goes your Nexus. Game 1 going over to Primal Instinct.
Bazinga Brain, the bot wave isn't as important as your Nexus, man. Come back to base. Come help defend. Not that it probably would have mattered anyways, as the game was far sealed by that point. Just a fantastic transition from this dominant early game of Primal Instinct Pink. They got some early kills on the Jinx. They destroyed the bot lane tower with a beautiful dive coming in from Voltage with the assist. They rotated that Jinx to mid, took down the mid tower with Voltage and Dallas. They rotated that
No,
to
no,
top.
no.
They
They
took all
took
the
the mid
objectives.
lane. They took the mid lane. They took
They
the
took the
entire
tower.
lane. They took tier 1 and then they took tier 2 like immediately after. Like it was like a breath. There was a breath like okay, and then they take the tier 2. But yes, they did they transitioned that early game lead into that mid game closeout like beautifully.
Really the only time that they ever took their foot off the gas was that one fight at the Drake where it looked like temporarily there might be a chance for Michigan A to get back into the game and like they could play through the Yone, but very quickly afterwards it was turned right back around, ending the game with a 10k gold lead. You can see some of the gold totals. Dallas completely dwarfing everybody else except for his
Yeah.
mid laner Voltage, and even then there's a 2k difference, but 5,000 gold up on the enemy AD carry. uh, Tons of gold up on the rest of the game. I mean, he was almost at full build, and that game ended, at what, less than 30 minutes?
Yeah, no kidding. But look at the damage. Jesus. Wow.
I mean, I want to. Okay, so obviously we all know that Primal Instinct Pink played a beautiful game, and they deserve to be commended for that. And the way that they transitioned their lead was beautiful. But I do really want to give a heads up shout out to Get Out of My Vein on the Yone in the top lane. Look at that damage, and not a lot of that. You might initially think, oh well, of course he has 17,000 damage. He was farming the Ornn for damage the entire game, right? But it really felt like he was able to be impactful, and throughout the games that I've been able to watch and commentate so far in this league, one thing that I've been a little bit disappointed at is how are we using R5 counter pick? And I thought that this game was a great example of how you can give your top lane the counter pick on the fifth pick and really make a good use out of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm still gonna say he's farming the Ornn damage, but we saw that Drake fight where Dion was impactful, unfortunately, towards the middle of that fight, but still impactful nonetheless. Uh, Being able to dish out a lot of that damage. If he was able to hit that fate sealed with Rails engage, it would have been a lot better. But since he had to catch up because he had used his soul. I don't know the name of that
Soul
ability. His
Unbound, I think,
Yeah, soul
perhaps.
unbound or however you say it. So he used that to try to chase down Turtle. Unfortunately, doesn't catch him out. So now he has to run back towards the fight. Uh, but it was that fight in itself that was like, okay, Yon is not just farming damage. He's using the gold and experience he's built up in that top lane to make it matter here in these team fights.
Yeah, and I mean, as one-sided as that game may have looked, I think that there's a lot to kind of go towards game two with a positive mentality towards for Michigan A. For example, you got the first Rift Herald and you got some early Drakes, right? Clearly, the objective control is going well for their side of things. If we just minimize some of those deaths in lane, whether that's going to come from the players and through their strategies, or that's going to come through targeting the draft a little bit more intensely at taking away these power picks like the Jinx and the Ornn and the Ivern and something like that that are just so strong at team fighting. We'll have to see how they adapt to game two to take a little bit better of an advantage of their upsides and minimize their downsides coming out from that game one.
And the only way we're going to do that is to get to game two. So, for the time being, is what I wanted to say. So, for the time being, we're going to take a quick little pause, get set up in the lobby, and we will see you guys for game number two. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Risen Esports Dominate League. We're gonna get right into draft sequence for game number two between UMich A and Primal Instinct. Pink with the R, take it off the table. Give Voltage the respect. Take that champ out of here. Get that champ out of here. But Primal Instinct taking a second to see what they want to ban. Do you just ban Jinx here?
I know
Honestly,
we're sticking with the Rengar. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
that's very
If
true.
I'm Primal Instinct Pink, I want to keep the draft as similar as humanly possible because that game went about as smoothly as humanly possible, save for that one hiccup at Dragon. Whereas I feel like the onus here
Ooh,
is definitely on UMich A to throw some wrenches in the draft, as we're already seeing them do
we
with some new bans.
okay.
Because their season, I mean, realistically, their season kind of hangs in the balance. It's now or never for them. Being at a 1-3 record already in the league and being in the sixth week of play, you have to pull out all the stops for this game. And when you're faced with as formidable of a foe as Primal Instinct Pink, who just looks so coordinated, so lane dominant, with their map movements looking so methodical, you have to do
Yep.
some things in draft in order to throw that off as much as you can.
Yeah, we're gonna stick with the Victor ban. We're gonna stick with the Karthus ban. Okay. And yeah, like that's what I thought they were gonna do. They're gonna take away the Jinx. Good, good, good. I'm glad. Uh,
Well, it's actually Primal Instinct Pink that took away the Jinx,
yeah,
interestingly enough,
I
because they
really
don't
want
want it to fall into the hands
exactly.
of
I'm
that
glad
first
they
pick.
did that. I'm super glad they did that. So Umich A doesn't get a free pick off of the Jinx, but they're just gonna first lock first pick the Rel, which I mean inherently, yes, it's good to get a good support right off rip, but there's so many counters that you can play into Rel that kind of just nullify it. But they're going to pick up the Tristana and the Ivern for their first two picks. Tristana being a flex pick, mind you.
Yeah. Ooh, I like what I'm
I
seeing. The
like
Rel
it.
Oriana locked in. Do we got
All
ourselves a
right.
good old Wombo comp being built here? I mean, Rel plus Oriana is about as good of a start to a team fighting comp as you can find. Technically, we still don't know if the Rel could be going jungle. If you're gonna first pick
True.
Rel or something like that, I would hope that you have the ability to flex pick it, just because as you noted, it's so easy to counter pick Rel with a multitude of supports and AD carries. So we're not going to see the support get locked in yet. They're going to keep it ambiguous
All
whether that rel is
right.
going into the support or jungle, and they're just going to lock in Zaya, another really strong team fighter.
I do like the Zaya pick here because whether the Tristana goes mid lane or goes bot lane, the Tristana is going to have a rough time into the Oriana and have a rough time into the Zaya because of those feather daggers.
There's a lot to dissuade her from just jumping forward and popping
Yes,
off and finding resets, right? You don't want to
exactly.
jump into a Zaya, then have her drop her ultimate and pull all those feathers back for like a million damage. Ooh.
I love the Blitzcrank. I'm not gonna lie. I really like this pick.
We'll see. The most dangerous
Ooh,
part about picking Blitzcrank at this stage in the draft is that if Rel does end up going jungle, there are some counter picks to Blitzcrank, right? The reason that you don't see him blinded all the time is because it's freaking Blitzcrank.
yep.
But assuming that this is the Rel going bot lane, I love responding to that with the Blitzcrank with something that's very active and kind of preys upon the ability to burn that Zaya ultimate with just a hook, or if she's not able to dodge that hook in time, her ultimate won't help her at all.
So if you're Primal Instinct, do you are for your top laner because we are flexing our Tristana here?
I think at this point, you know what both the mid laner and the AD carry are from Team Michigan A. So why maintain the flex, right? You know what matchup you're
Okay.
into either way, so you can decide whether you want the Tristana into the Zaya or into the Oriana, and then whichever of those matchups seems less preferable to you, you can lock in your other pick and save that counter for your top laner, especially after how last game went in the top lane. I think that giving that counter pick over to the top lane would be a wise choice.
Okay. 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 Okay.
It does seem like the most volatile and evenly matched of the lanes from what we saw last game. Obviously, the mid lane and the bot lane were looking far more convincing for Primal Instinct Pink.
I'm still trying to get wrap my head around this Fiora on during the first ban phase when they haven't locked anything in for the top lane that Fiora could counter. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like why? Maybe it has to do with just the top laner of Primal Instinct being very comfortable on the Fiora. They don't want them to pick that away early, regardless of matchup. Because yeah, I mean, unless you're picking something in the top lane phase one, there's not really a reason to not just float that band of to the second phase, right?
Right. So what? Oh, they're gonna.
Okay.
That's the mid lane, right?
I'd assume as much that the Tristana would be going bot lane with alongside the Blitzcrank, and that the Nico would be getting
Okay.
put mid lane into Oriana. They've got a very interesting comp going. I believe that
Oh
Nico
wow,
struggles into Oriana in the
Poppy.
1v1, but
Oh, the
ooh,
Poppy pick. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And then what are they gonna put in the top lane? Ornn.
ooh,
Okay.
take away
So
the
they
Ornn. Uh,
throw Poppy in the jungle, put Ornn in the top. Oh, their comp. UMich at A's comp has taken a drastic turn from a little complicated to execute to very straightforward to
if
execute.
if you took the team nameplates off, I would guess that Primal Instinct is on the left and that Michigan A is on the right.
Yeah, because
Because this
they
feels like a complete swap in terms of draft identity between the two teams. I love to see it.
exactly. So now would you pick into the Ornn? I mean, they're lacking a little bit in like the AD department. I
It seems that not even
honestly,
they're sure.
honestly, I think just lock in the Aatrox. They're gonna lock in the
Gwen,
Gwen. You know what? Why not? Hey,
I like this.
Gwen's a really good pick in the Ornn. Whether you can execute it or not, that's what it comes down to.
Gwen also gives a lot of trouble to the way that Michigan A wants to play compositionally, right? Because both of their carries want to stay at a distance. Ori wants to space you out with the ball, pop her phase rush if she has it,
Right.
get some movement speed. Zaya wants to kite back with the feathers. All those things are just going to go through Gwen while she's immune. And she's just gonna hit your front line and farm up her Q stacks and then dive into your back line with an R and one shot both your carries. So I think that
Yeah, but
compositionally as well as matchup wise, it's a good pick.
I mean, it's a great pick nonetheless. But UMich A's got the tools. They have the D push tools. You know, they have the Poppy, they have the Blade Caller, they have Rail Stun, they have Ori Ball. Like they have the tools in their kit to stop everything in its tracks.
Yeah, it's very bold to pick Gwen when Poppy is already on the table, right? Because your
Yeah.
champion is like 50% dashes. Gwen's only real way of getting in range is to use her E to get it to fly past the front line best as she can. And even then it's a very short range dash.
And you know
So
what? You know the interaction is gonna be funny. Is Gwen is gonna try to duke it out with a Poppy. Poppy pops the ability that says you can't go anywhere in flash and dash. And Gwen has her immune ability. It's like, okay, which one's gonna time out first? That's like, all right, they're in there beating each other down. Which one's gonna time out first?
I wouldn't say that we've solved the mystery of the Fiora ban, by the way. I mean, Fiora definitely is a good answer to Ornn, but again, if you're going to pick it on the second phase, why not just ban Fiora in phase two? Uh,
Exactly.
and if you have Poppy sitting in the back pocket, why not just leave Fiora open?
That's kind of where my head was at. I'm not gonna lie, because I see the Fiora taking off, and then Poppy gets locked in before, and I'm like, why not just leave Fiora up and and just kind of throw your wrench like that? But I still like the Fiora ban nonetheless, because they have Ornn, they have Poppy, they have Rel, they have such tanky members on their team. Fiora out of the just take her out of the equation. It's a lot easier for our massive wall to do it. They to do their job and just be a wall.
Definitely. And coming out of draft, I gotta be rooting for Michigan A, not only because who doesn't want a 3 game series, but also they picked Oriana. I said at the start of the cast, I think Oriana's in a really strong spot right now. She's getting some plays, some picks, some bans at Worlds. She's taking over the solo queue ladder in high elo in terms of mid lane, and I think that there is a lot to love about this champion, especially when you build a composition around her like Michigan A has been able to build.
Well, with that being said, I don't think this comp is built around the Oriana. They've definitely built a wombo combo ultimate with the Blade Caller, Magnet Storm, Ori Ball, Call of the Forge God. Like everything their kit has says, we're going to team fight on objectives. We are going to win because our utility just is going to let us do that. We have the engage, we have the disengage, we have the CC, we have the lockdown, we got it all. But to me, this comp is built around Zaya. Uh,
Mhm.
every utility that UMich A has will stop the other team from getting to Zaya.
Hyper, what a shock. The AD carry player thinks that the comp is built around Zaya, and the mid lane main thinks the comp is built around Oriana.
I don't don't see how this comp isn't built around Xayah. I mean, Oriana's ball, yes, is going to be massive wombo combo on the Rel, on the Ornn, and the Poppy. But all of this peel, I'm looking at their team, and it's just peel, 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 peel. Go into the face of the other team and just make sure they don't get to the AD carry. The
Mhm.
squishiest member, might I add you.
Regardless of who
Xayah
the
is
comp
the
is.
Xayah is the squishiest member on their team, and their entire kit says we're not going to let anybody touch the squishiest member.
Hey, regardless of who the comp is built around, I have to say that I'm actually really excited to see how Primal Instinct Pink approaches this game because they are going to have
Ooh,
to demonstrate a drastically different skill set in order to prove that they can win this game. Because if you think of last game, they had a very clear team fighting identity and they played that to a T and took advantage of that. They were very strong skirmishers, they were very strong team fighters, they get their hyper carries ahead. This game, Michigan A is the team that has the significantly stronger 5v5 team fighting. And so for Primal Instinct Pink, they're going to have to be able to demonstrate that not only can they play 5v5 team fight, they can also play through their side lanes by utilizing the Gwen and the Nico in those side lane matchups.
using that as a caveat, look at what the Gwen took. She did not take combat summoner. She went for the TP ghost instead of the ignite ghost, which I find really interesting because she's up against the Ornn. You would think that she would go ahead and take that ignite for that early lane pressure and dominance. Because once Gwen hits level 3 or even level 2, she kind of could run all over the Ornn, theoretically speaking, because I think this comp is more of a skill set rather than a champion matchup. Uh, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm trying to like jump into their heads and think of why we would opt for the TP instead of the Ignite on Gwen, it's probably because, well, the matchup is already good anyway, so why do we need more, right? I think a lot of top lane champions who like taking Ignite in certain matchups is like, for example, Jax versus Camille, you have to take Ignite on Camille because otherwise the matchup isn't playable, right? It's basically an even matchup, maybe slightly losing if you don't have Ignite. Taking the Ignite pushes you over the edge and gives you that little bit of extra combat power that you need. In a matchup like Gwen versus Ornn, you might just be thinking, well, I can dominate this matchup anyways, so why not take TP and be able to actually pressure in the side lane while also being able to join my team if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Well, if that's the case that we're gonna go on, then let's just take the ignite TP then.
Hmm.
Don't even use the ghost. Yes, the ghost is really good to run down the Ornn because of his charge. But if we're gonna go off the mindset of, hey, let me take the TP because I can win this matchup, so let me just take this TP and I could be influencing the map with the TP, whether it's make a play in the bot side or quickly TP to the top lane to match a push. Let's take that ignite along with it because yes, it's a yes, I have this inherent advantage in my lane, but let's just add a little bit of extra. Hey, I want to make sure I win this, like this 1v1 that I'm going to take. Even though I might not be, I shouldn't be taking it because it's like a 50-50 shot. So let me take the ignite to make sure that I win it out. But I'm going to stop rambling because we're going to get onto the riffs real soon. So we're going to send it to a quick little break so we can get set up, and we will see you guys when we get there.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rift for game number 2 between Primal Instinct Pink versus University of Michigan A team. Uh, standard 5 point setup for both teams, but I don't know. You got a blitzcrank. Why not go for the invade? You know what I mean?
Well, it's the double mind game because everyone expects the invade when you have a Blitzcrank. So what if you just didn't?
Do it. Just do it.
Well, what if you just didn't though?
Well, it's just full send. Why not? Like they know you're coming. Disappointed.
Look at Turtle taunting in front of the tower, showing a little bit of personality. He's using the Blitzcrank skin that I swear, of all the Blitzcrank skins, everyone who uses this Blitzcrank skin does not miss a hook. So he's got to be good at the champion.
I only have one Blitzcrank skin, and it's definitely not the best skin in his skin pool. I really hope that joke hits somewhere. It's definitely not the
Yeah,
best.
uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
I
good.
got you.
It's definitely not Blitzcrank. That's the skin I got.
Voltage attempting to summon the spirit of his AD carry Dallas by masquerading as him level 1.
So I used to be like, man, dude, I hate when I have to lane against Nico as a support, but then I realized it's really easy to figure out because I'll see like both ADCs come into my lane and I'm like, man, I wonder who's the real one. And then I'll see the ADC throw an ability. I'm like, all right, cool. The other one's the Nico. Bet.
Yeah, you gotta count those minions now.
Oh, by the way, I used to think that was hard until Nico did it in my lane, and I'm like, oh, they might be looking like a minion, but they're not acting like a minion. Okay, that's the real one.
Wow, look at this lane control
Wow,
already in the bot lane.
Out from Turtle. But Support King's got an ability to get him out of that one quickly. Yeah, I mean, I do got to give it to the side of Primal Instinct. They hit level 2 really fast right there, and they turned it into something.
Definitely. I mean, an advantage, no matter how small, is still an advantage, especially in the bot lane in these kind of volatile matchups where you've got a Blitzcrank, you've got a Rel, two champions that both kind of want to play this lane to hard engage and find opportunities where they can. And that hook is barely going to go wide for Turtle as he throws down the sad B to commemorate the missed hook. Pay homage.
I'd be sad.
How is there already a 400 gold lead on the map? I guess it's just because of the slow stacking waves on the top lane. Yeah.
I mean, you got an Ivern in your game. I mean, that's he clears really, really fast. So that's, I mean, you're inherently going to build up a bigger CS lead.
I love this from Peels, by the way. Look, he crashed this huge wave. Poppy's on the top side of the map. I don't know if he knows that, but even if he doesn't, he's just going to take the reset and grab an extra amp tome, take that cheater recall, come back to the lane, and he's never going to be under threat. Meanwhile, Get Out of My Vein is kind of stuck in lane and doesn't have that same reset timer. So yeah, really well executed.
He's an Ornn. He can just buy his item right then and there. He doesn't
True, he doesn't need the base.
Yeah. But I do got to say, it's going to... Ooh, what a hook coming out from Turtle. Finds the Requiem, but he's going to have to burn his flash. Really nice blade caller to put Blitzcrank in one position. Better be careful because that hook is coming off cooldown fairly soon. But what I was going to say is that with them picking up the Tristana, it makes it really hard for this Ivern to find a gank that's not a tower dive. Because Tristana's kit inherently just shoves waves, always.
Yeah, like wave control kind of doesn't exist when you're playing Tristana. Oh, as they find the hook onto Support King.
Yeah, and Dallas is going to have to just rocket jump right in there, and he does. Gets the first blood, pops the cleanse and the flash to pick it up. But wow, what an ego play if I've ever seen one.
They are just punishing this bot lane on the side of Mich. I thought maybe with the Jinx taken away, with the Rel locked in again, things might be a little bit different this time, but Dallas and Turtle are just demonstrating that in the bot lane, they cannot be matched, at least not by the side of Michigan A, as they are just farming tower plates, diving under tower, and Bazinga Brain is going to come to the bot lane to see if he can make an impact as Requiem gets hooked again.
He's just going to take 3 autos to the face along with that ticking time bomb. Bazinga's going to try to run down Dallas, get that slow to go down. Don't know if they're going to be able to find the Blade Caller's Roof Dam, but they do get the stun. He is going to go Airborne. The Poppy picks up the kill, so they do manage to get a return play down here in the bot side, but that kill not going over to the ADC like they might have wanted to.
Yeah,
but they do get Drake pressure.
Very well played by Bazinga Brain, utilizing that phase rush on the Poppy to run behind them and then get the E because he didn't really have the flash to get behind them otherwise. A little question mark on why Turtle didn't opt to use the flash, maybe saving it for next game, perhaps.
Yep, saving it for
Didn't feel
next
like
game.
he had to die there necessarily, but now this Drake is actually might be contested by Team Primal Instinct Pink.
I mean, Turtle is here. If anybody can contest it, it is them because they got the
Oh
Blitzcrank
no, here
Eagle
comes
making her
Voltage.
way down from the north side of the river. Support King going to go jump right into the face, but they
Woo!
do. Not even that, but they manage just to steal it away. The Poppy is going to immediately go down. And no, the Poppy is up. The Zaya is the one that immediately goes down. I misspoke. So not only do they pick up the ADC, but they manage to sneak in and steal the Drake away. Wow. Trigger finger on that smite is locked in.
Yeah, I mean, beautifully played. Kind of Primal Instinct Pink calling them out on the fact that they're not really allowed to start that Drake with Dallas coming off of a base. Turtle being very annoying to the mid laner of Michigan A team, stopping his base. It shouldn't matter too much because he has that TP up, and he actually will be able to pick up that lost chapter. The Orianna build looking pretty solid already, given that kill that he picked up onto Voltage in that engage. Voltage actually wasn't able to get his ultimate out before he dropping to the shockwave, so a nice kill to trade back, and it goes on to a good member of your team as hopefully the Orianna can keep landing these shockwaves in these skirmishes and help distribute the gold to the rest of her team. And I mean, all things considered, 700 gold down at 7 minutes is a lot better than last game was looking.
If we look at the goal difference right there, Zaya a little bit behind on the Tristana, but that's first blood gold, really. Because she's up in CS, she's got an assist in her pocket, so, you know, even in kills, and it's just the first blood gold that separates the difference between the two of them. But man, Peels is just going in on to get me out of my vein, and Poppy has come in to join the fight, but Bazinga Brain's health bar is just way too low to duel this Gwen 1v1 like that, and manages to pick up a double kill for the side of Primal Instinct.
Just beautifully played. The counter pick working out in full force for sure.
Look at Turtle, just the way he's posturing. He's looking for Zaya on that hook. I love to see it. But Zaya picking up 6, so that hook is going to be really hard to land. Oh, I love how direct the camera saw us the aftermath of that. What happened there in the mid lane?
I mean, it looks like, from what I can tell, Voltage used his flash to CC down the mid lane on the side of Michigan A, and he wasn't able to use his own flash to escape before he fell down, and so he will lose whatever minions were underneath that tower as the hook goes wide from Turtle, and that will be kind of an advantage swinging back in the other direction, going towards Voltage, even despite the initial kill picked up for the Orianna.
I do gotta give credit where credit's due. Requiem is playing at Blitzcrank's max range on this hook, and he is playing with a very dangerous line at that, because these hooks are barely missing at max range.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, doing a much better job of minimizing loss than last game, right? The last game was so difficult because it just fell apart after those.
They don't see Karthus come up. They managed to land the hook. Here comes Daisy, but Bazinga Brain has made their way in. They are level 6. Oh, that rocket jump stopped right in its tracks. Gets grounded, but unfortunately, Requiem just does not have the damage at this point in the game to follow up with all the CC that his team had laid down for him. And just is going to be able to clean this wave up very nicely. I do not know if Dallas and Turtle are going to be looking for a dive here, though.
Turtle just charging the Hex Flash right in front of his face. Feels like such a troll on this Blitzcrank. Just walking all over the map, stopping bases, spamming laugh, having a good time.
But the hook on the bot lane, Zaya got hooked. I saw it. Oh, she manages to die in the face of Dallas. I was looking at the minimap and I see the icon of Zaya go all the way over to Blitzcrank. I was like, no!
Don't do it!
So yeah, that's how that happened. Gets hooked. Dallas throws down a bomb onto her head. Hits 4 autos. She blows up. Dallas picks the kill up.
Well, unfortunately, just as we were talking about how Michigan A was doing a little bit better of a job at minimizing the early game than last game, it's kind of started to fall apart in all of the individual lanes. First, it was the double kill over to Gwen, then it was the mid lane solo kill for the side of Voltage, and then what just happened in bot lane. And now it feels like we're kind of at a similar situation as to what we saw in game one, as Peels is trading with the Ornn. And what I would really like to see from Primal Instinct Pink now is to take advantage of the fact that you're this far ahead at this stage of the game and cash in on what is potentially the biggest snowballing opportunity in the entire game, Rift Herald.
Oh yes, Rift Herald here would be really good. Personally, would probably drop it in the mid lane. Yes, the mid lane plates are still up, but it does get Voltage more ahead of the Orianna than she already is, because Tristana realistically can take this tier 1 by herself with her bomb charges. So doesn't really need that Herald help. But then again, if that's the
Ooh,
way you want to
Dallas!
play it, I'll just solo kills.
Redirected camp, please!
I mean, come on. Shutdown going over to the Rel, I guess. Dallas charges right into Zaya, just full on egos. That one comes out with the kill. Uh, I mean, I don't know.
Oh!
I don't know what it was there, but we got a top lane skirmish right here. They call the Forge God, not going to be able to knock out Peels, but Peels with that needlework. Sowing some needles, if you were, onto that Poppy. Finds the kill right there. Turtle making his way up to the top side of the map, and it looks like Primal Instinct are going to get to that Herald, and they're going to pick it up, and probably going to tower dive the Ornn along with it. Flashes in, ults him in the face, and Voltage picks the kill up.
These teams have officially broken Directed Camp. Directed Camp doesn't know what to look at. There's too much happening everywhere at once. And they grab the Herald. We'll see where they end up trying to use it, as it looks like they might be looking to just walk up top lane and break this tower that's already pretty close to the range that it needs to be at. Break the Gwen out of the lane. I don't hate this as a usage either, especially after finding the pick onto Ornn. They kind of were spoiled for choice in terms of how to use this Herald, and so this seems like a fine choice. Going to be able to create even bigger of a gold advantage for this Gwen. Should be able to base and pick up that Rift Maker, which is just going to make things even harder for the Ornn by introducing more true damage into her trading patterns. And already we have a 5,000 gold lead, which is solidified. And a lot of that gold is onto the right players, as we get to see a spectator. The Gwen is up roughly 3,000 gold. Dallas is up roughly 1,500 gold. And Michigan A is actually going to be able to respond with a Drake, but I don't know how much that Drake is going to give you back in terms of gold value that isn't already existing for the side of Primal Instinct Pink through the actual gold value.
Turtle finds a really clean hook onto Requiem. The Ignite ticking down, Rocket Jump going forward, but that ultimate coming out from the Zyad, not going to be able to find any root onto that Blade Collar, but that's still a big ultimate that they could get out of her pocket now. Orange is smashing right in onto his terrain. Not going to really help right there, but he's going to channel his TP. Not going to know if he's going to live this one, and he does! Wow, that is how you outplay the Gwen, just annihilating your health bar. You hit the TP so that she can't kill you.
Hilarious demonstration of how Gwen has no hard CC. So actually has no ability to cancel the teleport, and so if you're in trouble, you can just TP your way out as long as you won't die by the time it finishes.
Oh, but by the way, if Gwen had Ignite, he dies.
You're really going to die on this hill, aren't you?
Just saying, if he had Ignite, he dies. Turtle's going to be able to get caught out right there, clearing a ward. Throws the thumbs up. Throws a little bit of the emote action. Voltage and Daisy are now coming into the fight. A really clean hook found by Turtle, but Poppy does not like him. Throws him back into the rest of his team. That's where he wanted to be. Massive pop blossom coming out from the Nico, and they find the support king. A really clean flash to get out of that one. Unfortunately, no one dies yet, but they do find a shutdown onto the Nico, going into the Orianna's pocket. Wow, what a play coming out from the side of UMich A. Meanwhile, the top laners are doing what top laners do best. They're just battling it out right there in the top lane. Peels' health bar is dangerously low, but the needlework says, I'm going to make you dangerously low. Dallas manages to get a kill in the mid lane. He's taking too many turret shots. His health bar is very, very low. Requiem, he's not out of range. He finally picks up the kill. Let's go, UMich A. We are on the board, and we are here to play.
Fantastic skirmish play, and the great part is that's quote unquote, a pretty even trade, but when you look at the shutdown gold, that is more than worth it for the side of Michigan A. They're able to find a shutdown onto Vultures, they're able to find a shutdown onto Dallas, and that is going to end up being a result of the fact that Primal Instinct Pink maybe getting a little bit overconfident, having a hiccup where Dallas took that bot lane tower and went to immediately take that base, while the rest of his team went into the enemy jungle and fought a fight where they didn't even have arguably their strongest member.
I mean, but they still were ahead of that fight, but then it got a little bit
Ooh,
mixed up, I'm gonna say.
wait a
But
minute.
Nico looking for
Okay.
something there in the
I thought
bot
he might
lane.
look for something out of the bush, but actually the Crown of the Shattered Queen picked up for the Orianna means that Nico kind of loses a little bit of that surprise factor. You're not really able to sit in bushes and then just one-shot someone out of the bush. So an intelligent pickup for the side of Michiganese mid laner, as we see Dallas and Turtle slowly working down this mid tower. One of the great things that we saw from them last game was their ability to transition towers taken in the side lanes to opening up the entire map, dropping that mid lane tier 1 as another hook goes wide by Turtle. And we gotta, like you said earlier, give props to Requiem. Ever since those first few hooks, he's been really
Get that
adept at
ultimate
dodging
getting
those.
channeled by that Poppy, but he's going to be able to miss it. The Pop Blossom is going to lock in the rest of the team under tower. A really clean Blade Caller coming out from the side of Requiem. Voltage takes too many tower shots. He manages to pick up that kill. Peels is in the face of that tower, taking a lot of turret damage, but that needlework is still primed and ready to go. I don't think that was the fight that they wanted to take, but it was the fight that they took nonetheless. Dallas pops that cleanse and pops the Poppy in results.
When all is said and done, the dust settles, and it's, I believe, a 3 for 2 in the favor of Primal Instinct Pink.
No, a 2 for 2.
2 for 2?
Yeah, the support fell, just respawned, in fact, and Poppy just fell down right there as well.
Okay, I
Voltage
wasn't sure whether or not Requiem had died because he was coming out of base at the same time.
he threw out the Blade Storm, hit Flash, hit Blade Caller, channeled back.
Immediately, as soon as he's used everything. Well, I've contributed all I can contribute.
Like, I have 50 HP. I don't need to be here.
Ooh, and we see some big item spikes coming through for Primal Instinct Pink. Gwen is virtually full build with the Riftmaker Nashor's Tooth. That's pretty much all you need. And for the Tristana, the Kraken Slayer Navori spike is massive. A lot of people don't really acknowledge that the biggest part about Tristana being able to hit this spike is that with Navori Quick Blades, Tristana essentially has permanent Q if she's constantly auto-attacking in a fight.
Ooh, and with that rocket jump forward, they might have picked a fight that they didn't want to take, but the Pop Blossom's going to hit 2 people, but a really great ultimate coming out from the rail, really great engage coming out from the support king. They pick up 3, now a 3v3, but it doesn't matter because the damage from the side Primal Instinct is just too good. Orianna is on the retreat, just trying to get out of there. But I don't know if you're going to be able to get out of this one. The slows, the flash forward, the hook, and the gray screen take you to Fountain. Take our Drake on top of it.
And despite what looked like a really promising engage.
That was a really good engage from Mitch A, but I think it was the needlework, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, there are just, at this point in the game, there are just too many threats. You can catch out Voltage, you can force Dallas out of the fight because of the mispositioning and maybe the overzealous rocket jump, but there are just, then you still have the Gwen to deal with, and you still have the shields from Ivern to deal with. There are just too many threats to be able to isolate 1 or 2 of them and find a pick on them and still expect to win the fight. So despite the fact that for what feels like the second game in a row, they found a really good fight despite being in a dire situation gold-wise, it's just too little too late, and they're not really able to contend with the wallet size that is presenting itself on... wait a second.
Nico disguised herself as Daisy.
I've never seen that in my entire life. I was fooled as the spectator.
I was fooled. What?
Ivern was just walking around with a Nico.
Away. Turtle's going to find a pick out of the Bazinga Brain, and they're just going to rotate that into Baron, I believe.
That's incredible. That's incredible, actually. They're going to take down the Rift Herald just before it despawns at the 20-minute mark.
I hate that.
Always a nice extra objective to pick up, especially if they are able to find the Baron. Utilizing the Baron buff alongside the Rift Herald is like, how is this even defendable?
Yeah, no kidding.
So now we see Peels flanking around the side.
I mean, he is going to be able to find Orianna. Needlework is going to go out. And he just has so much damage in his kit that flash has to get popped. But the blast cone gonna be able to decrease the distance a little bit. They managed to pick up that tier
Hy-
2 in the top
Hyper,
lane.
Hyper, what do you think could have helped secure that kill?
Ignite. That's all I'm saying. Ignite. I'm telling you, man, that's the second time somebody got away because you didn't have Ignite. They pick up that inhibitor turret. Shelly goes ahead, crashes that into that inhibitor. They're going to get a second charge going off, but the call of the Forge God has been called. And is going to get rooted up so that...
Are they going to end the game?
Backward. I mean, they definitely could. If they have anything in their pocket, they can do it, but they stop the charge for Shelly, so doesn't get that next charge off. But Dallas right into the face of the entire team, pops the cleanse, but the damage is just too good
Tactical.
for the side of Requiem. A really good shutdown. And they managed to stop the end of the game right then and there. Karthus forced the flash because he's taking a lot of tower shots. Daisy taking all the tower shots too. Rooted it in your place. You're not moving anywhere, Support King. But Turtle finds the ADC, but that ultimate is just too good. The Blade Caller puts Voltage in his place and the flash just to keep his health bar alive. And Support King is looking for a little bit more. Knows that they have weak health bar, sidesteps the root, but you cannot sidestep heals. You cannot sidestep the hook. You cannot sidestep the fountain, my friend.
Wow. I mean, despite Dallas doing his best tactical impression on that Nexus, it still just feels like they are not able to find a break, as they have Bazinga Brain doing his best to slam his puny little hammer against the tower in the bot lane, trying to pick up an objective bounty, but Poppy does not clear towers very well. As it
No,
looks like we have
we
potentially a
probably
pause.
we had probably a short little pause. So Riot Client doing what Riot
There
Client
we go.
loves. Yep, and it's back. What I mean, if you're the side of UMich A, what do you do now?
I mean, to be fair, Requiem is honestly looking pretty strong in these fights.
Okay, so Requiem finally hitting his power spike with the Navori Quick Blades picked up. Been pretty far behind tempo in terms of his lane opponent. You know, Tristana's got 3 items now with Phantom Dancer locked in. I like the Phantom Dancer pickup just because of all of the mobility on the other side of the team. Phantom Dancer just giving you that extra, okay, I have move speed, I can follow, I can chase. But, I mean, if you're UMich A, what do you do here? I guess that's the real question, because they're going to take Baron.
Preferably not trade Baron. I think
they can't even contest it. That's the sad part.
At the stage that the game is at, you're going to have a really hard time stopping the siege once the Baron has gone down. I mean, given that they've already made this decision, I like that they're trying to trade back 2 towers that both have objective bounties on them in the bot lane, but I think they're going to have a really hard time defending against this Baron.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, unfortunately, they didn't have the wave. They could have potentially taken that second wave, but here comes Dallas and Gwen, and both between the two of them, they can annihilate their entire base if they don't manage to get back there. They take that mid tier 2. Poppy's still sticking to this tier 2 in the bot lane, hoping to get something on the map.
I think you have to try to bait Dallas in here. Dallas a few times has made the mistake of walking up and jumping in maybe a little bit further than he's allowed to.
The Fnatic jump.
So you gotta hope. You gotta hope that Dallas does it again.
Heals with the blast clone, getting a little bit eager with trying to get this top wave shoved in. I like the setup that they have coming in here, but looks like Peels might get caught out here. Call the Forge God manages to knock her up, and they do get the shutdown going over to Orianna. Unfortunately, they lose that turret there in the mid lane and the inhibitor go along with it. It is now a 4v4 because because Bazinga Brain has managed to make his way to the Drake of all objectives.
How is he there? How did he get there? He doesn't have teleport.
I mean, he just never based. But he's going to channel that ultimate, going to look to find something. They find the jungler. Unfortunately, they cannot follow up with it.
Look at the base.
Yeah, it's getting destroyed right now. They cannot contest this Drake. But if anybody can clear it, it is Requiem. I mean, Zayas Kid is just so good at clearing waves. I mean, you just lose Drake. Yeah,
the one bright spot is that this is not Soul, because they were able to pick up one of those early Drakes while everything on the map was kind of falling apart. It means that they delayed that Soul by a good 5 minutes, so it will be until the next Infernal Drake for Team Primal Instinct being able to pick up that Dragon Soul. But all things considered, things are it's tough for anyone on Michigan A to walk much farther than the outsides of their base. I mean, they if you look at just the amount of vision on the map, they don't have very much. They know reasonably that Primal Instinct is on base right now, so they're able to extend out of their base a little bit, but the supers are coming in through mid, the supers are coming in through top, and despite having champions who have some pretty strong wave clear on the Oriana and the Zaya, there's only so much that they can do at this stage of the game, right? 25
Yep.
minutes don't necessarily have all of the stats that you'd be hoping to have in order to wave clear these waves as fast as maybe you'd like to.
I thought Dallas was gonna get a little bit eager right there and jump on a Bazinga brain, but does not do that. I mean, if I was the Tristana in that situation, I probably would. But look at where Turtle is sitting. That is all I gotta say, because when that hook lands, it is gonna land. Dallas picks up that kill, and now the rest of Primal Instinct are looking for the rest of the fight. Dallas rocket jumping on in, finds Bazinga Brain. Bazinga Brain finds him. He cannot get out of there. Really good engage coming out from that rail. That Mega Storm is going to put all of them into their place. But here comes Peels, and he's got them all there. A really great pop blossom coming out from the side of Voltage. It is now a 1v. It is now a 2v3 Requiem. They're going to put the game on your back. Unfortunately, you find the wrong Nico. That's a double kill going over for the Glen, and that might just be game. Unfortunately, Orn does not have enough damage in his kit to stop this siege. GG, game number 2 going over to Primal Instinct.
And nearly found themselves a good fight with Dallas overextending yet again, but it just does not matter. The dynamic duo of Peels and Voltage are able to carry the fight on the back half, and very underrated play also coming through with the Karthus, just distributing unlimited shields to his carries the entire time, making it basically unplayable for the side of UMich, despite them being able to find some good engages and despite them finding a lot of shutdowns in situations where you wouldn't expect them to be able to. It just proved to be too much. And the cohesion of this team on Primal Instinct Pink and the ability of each individual player to carry in their own right was just too much to overcome.
I mean, and when we switch over to the post game stats, I'm pretty sure we're going to see the gold just mountains develop for all of the carries, Tristan and the Nico, respectively. But oddly enough, Nico actually down in gold.
Hmm.
One, not even 1K gold, about 500 gold. But look at the gap between the bot lane and the top lane. Like 2K gold ahead for Gwen, and then another 3K gold ahead for Dallas into Requiem, which last game I'm pretty sure was the exact same mountain, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas got to be in contention for the highest gold per minute in the league, at least if you're
Huh.
able to account for those first few FF games. And I mean, uh, you're seeing these two games from the side of Primal Instinct Pink. It's clear that their 1-2 record is very, very deceiving, right? This team looked dominant in this series. There were a few hiccups here and there, a few perhaps moments of overconfidence or moments where they took a bad team fight, well capitalized on by the roster of Michigan A. But all things considered, this is not what a team that is 1-2 in the league looks like. And they're looking to bounce back after those two FFs, and this is a really good start to kind of reversing that. And you can see why when you see how competent all of their players are on their individual roles, but also as a team in being able to navigate the map, break down all the outer towers, take the heralds, take the drakes, and just methodically take a game from an early lane lead to a successful victory at around the 30-minute mark.
I mean, you can't say it any better than that. The stats don't lie, the graphs don't lie, and Steven, my man, you do not lie. But Primal Instinct is going to be playing another game here right after this series. So they're going to play another series right after this. So they're 2-2 record. Is that correct?
Yeah, they will now rise to a record of 2-2, an
Yeah.
effective record of 2-0 if you're not discounting or if you're deciding to discount those FFs.
So they're 2-2 now going into their next game, their next series. I apologize. So we might see the standings for Primal Instinct actually go even higher depending on how the results of this series that they're about to play turns into. But a really great game for UMich 8. in general. I mean, when you're on the back foot like that, you find those good engages. You find you're managing to capitalize off of the mistakes that Primal Instinct had made and turn them into victories. Then that still speaks volumes to your ability to play at this level. So, um, even though that those games were very methodically and very clean from the side of Primal Instinct, the hiccups were punished appropriately. But not only that, UMich A never really gave up. They were still pushing back in every way that they could. And you got to give credit to Support King because of the engages he found were so crucial. Although if your team was a little bit more fed, yes, those fights go a little bit differently. But when you're down, you gotta pull the trigger, and they never stop pulling the trigger. And I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Hopefully, UMich A gets a little bit higher in the standings. We might be able to see them play one, maybe once or twice, but who knows? But Primal Instinct definitely looking like a playoff run for them.
For sure.
I got nothing else, man. I don't know if you do.
I mean, appreciative to be treated to another good series. I mean, just an absolute treat to watch these two teams square off today. I certainly wouldn't go so far as to call it a stomp, and I think for UMich Esports, there's a lot of really good stuff to look at from these games. I think that they had a lot of really good cross maps. I think that, like you said, they never really gave up and they kept fighting despite being very far down based off the individual lane play. And I think for Primal Instinct Pink, you're just you're banking on this being the start of a serious playoff contention run. Let's reverse what happened in those first few weeks and let's show that we can be a really strong team, and they certainly showed that today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with that being said, as always, we at Risen love it that you guys come and join us to watch League of Legends. I know I enjoy watching League of Legends. I enjoy casting it, and I also enjoy the observer who is behind the camera today. Chippy, thank you for everything that you do. Steven, thank you for having me because I usually cast on Unstoppable on Saturdays. So if you guys like hearing my voice and screaming at the mic, come join me on Saturdays. Uh, if not, you can always stop here at Dominate. We don't mind. And always Champions League is still coming up here in the future. So stick around for those games as well because those are absolute bangers. We appreciate you guys coming and we will see you guys next week. Take care.